Hi, welcome to the Bloom Show. I am your host, Sahib Naheem, and the show is brought to you by Above All Flowers and New Bloom Solutions. The purpose of the show and our vision and our mission is to help the flower industry innovate, connect, and bloom. It's truly a show of a podcast, a vlog, which is intended for the floral community and by the floral community. So today we do have a guest host, which we call, but we kind of made it a little different today. I'll share that with you in a second, but I want to do a little housekeeping. We are doing a great show next week, I believe, on the 18th with Nicole Palazzos, Sam Bowles, and Cam Pampas. I think we all know these guys. They're really the next generation. They're super exciting, and they've been the people responsible for Next Gen Convention that happened in June. So we thought it would be a great idea to have Nicole come in as a guest host and bring in her guests, Sam Bowles and Cam Pappas, to speak about the success of Next Gen. But today we have the Bloom and Learn session. It's something new we're trying. We hope it takes off. We hope it's good. So you could help us by sharing it, telling us your comments, how to improve it after we're done as well. We'd love to hear from you. And I know that our guests would love to hear from you, how you enjoyed it, what we could do to improve it as we go. So it's the Bloom and Learn educational series. And today is photography and building collaborative relationships with photographers. Our guest that's going to be doing this presentation, I actually met her at Black Girl Florist Convention, and I was one of the most excited people in the audience because I see so much opportunity for florists to collaborate with photographers. But again, this show is also for growers and wholesalers that are looking to take better photography as well. And then you have that added value of, if you're a florist, how do you partner with a photographer if you're not a photographer yourself? How do you partner with a photographer in a business collaborative sense? And then as well, how do you learn to take good pictures of the product that's very important for you to show? So today we have Renee Jael from Renee Jael Co. And she is a wedding, portrait, and fashion industry photographer. I really, really love the fashion industry aspect into our flower industry. And I think we're starting to see that more and more. People transitioning from fashion into flowers. I actually transitioned from fashion into flowers 18 years ago, but it does bring a different perspective, right? So without further ado, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ask questions. This is for the community, by the community. So chime in. You're going to have a question. If you say, I wonder what this is about, ask the question. I'll send it to I'll send it to Renee, and she'll answer it hopefully. And so Renee, just a heads up, keep an eye on the little cursors in the bottom. Those are questions. If they happen to pop up, you'll see a question. It'll pop up. Answer the question, and that's why we're here for. Share with your friends. If you're a wholesaler, share it with your florists. It is adding value to them. So without further ado, please allow me to invite onto the show Renee Jael.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Renee Jael. I am Trinidadian, born and raised, reside in Atlanta currently, and I've been a photographer for 10 years. I have been around fashion my entire life, and I would say I've been around flowers my entire life as well. My mom, she just had this passion for making everything around her beautiful. And so naturally, I adopted that mindset and I am living exactly what I saw. I'm living a life that is curating beauty all around me through portraits, through flowers, through fashion, and through other things that I truly value in my life. And so when it comes to photography, I have a very fun story for you to start it out. And it's about makeup and flowers. As a little girl, I was the only child growing up with my mom. And I remember just wanting to try makeup on. I was about 14, and I remember specifically doing my eyebrows incredibly thin and putting on blue eyeshadow, and it was not the best job. And I remember thinking as an adult, wow, I had a great idea, but it wasn't the ideal palette. And sometimes that's what's happened. That is what happens when we take pictures of flowers. We have this incredible and beautiful canvas, and we take an image of it, and sometimes there might be filters and presets and different things like that that don't truly show the beauty of the flowers that you take. And so today I want to bring the two together, of flowers and photography, and how you can ensure that you are not only presenting your beautiful artwork and your beautiful flowers, but how to communicate with photographers to share the beauty of your work, to make sure the colors are seen perfectly, to ask them, hey, can you partner with me in this adventure? Can you help me showcase different things that I want to do? And also, we're going to talk about how you can do that on your own. I am so excited. And so Sahid is sharing the presentation for me, and we are going to go on to vendor relationships. And so when it comes to vendor relationships, the very first thing I want you to think about is that keyword, relationship. When you think about a relationship, it is between generally two people. And so that's where we have to truly come in with the authentic mindset of authentically wanting to know the person that you work with. I truly believe that taking this approach takes you further, because it shows that you are not only interested in connecting with someone about their work, but you are interested in connecting about who they are as a person. Authenticity carries you so far, because when you see that person behind the business, you are seeing someone who is building a dream. You're seeing someone who is putting their hands to the plow just like you are, someone that has a vision for their life, someone that has a family that they're supporting, someone that has things that they are walking through in their own story so that they can show up for their business. And so when you approach these vendor relationships, you have to see a person before you see them as a product and a resource, because that way you approach that conversation a little differently, and you begin to be curious about who you're talking to, about who you're wanting to connect to. And I truly believe that curiosity and authenticity is the key to building those authentic relationships. And I would go as far to say you might not become best friends with every single person that you're wanting to connect with, but just being curious about who they are, being their biggest cheerleader, asking them about their business, asking them about the foundation, about dreams that they have, and making it organic. If you see something that connects the two of you, you genuinely have this spark and interest that draws you to them. Don't be afraid to talk to them, because I guarantee you they will be just as excited to connect with you. And it can be very little. That's how we build relationships, right? We meet, we might text first, we might get on a phone call, and then we go to a coffee shop or something like that. And so it is all about intentionality, and it is all about that process of thinking about it as a relationship and approaching this person as a someone that has a life, has value in who they are, and also has value in the things that they do. And they are showing up just like you are to run the business that they have. They're showing up in the world trying to give their best, to offer what they have to the world. And so a few things you can do to build those, a few practical things you can do to build those authentic relationships are very simple. You can share their work in posts or stories, share what you love about their particular work, and be their cheerleader. Be authentic in being a cheerleader as well. I am a natural cheerleader. I love supporting people. I love celebrating them, because it is genuinely who I am. And so it's so easy to see something on social media and scroll past it, right? Like that's what we do. We're so used to it. It's been years and years and years that social media has been around. And so we're almost tuned out to something sometimes. But when you truly see something that stands out to you, the first thing I want you to do is take a minute and appreciate the hard work that person did to actually show up. Because if you know anything about social media, sometimes we can overthink it, right? And we can think about all the things that we have to do to show up. And when you see that person and they have taken a picture of their work, or they have received a picture from a photographer, they have intentionally chosen to share their business. And so for you to recognize that they were intentional is a big deal. So share their work if you're really inspired by it. Share what you love about the colors, about the palette, about the tone, about the actual flowers that they use, or anything that you love about that image. Share it or send them a DM and say what you love about it. That is the first way, one of the ways that you can be authentic about that work. Right. And then you can genuinely show up in their life if you have come to that place in your relationship with them. Genuinely show up in their life in their big ways. If they're moving, offer to help them move or buy them a housewarming gift. Any little thing that you can do for it to be relevant and not just a, hey, I'm going to do something for you because I want something, but being genuine about where they are in life, because remember, they are people too with lives and stories as well. And lastly, an impactful way that you can show up in their business is to really leave a review for times and projects that you have worked with them on, whether that is a wedding, a trade show, or anything that you have worked together with them on. Remember that other people are looking for good people like them. And if you can be a connecting point between their future clients and their work, they are going to remember you always. And it will also leave a mark on them that you saw them, that you saw the work that they do in their field. And so letting them know through leaving a review is a perfect way to continue elevating that relationship with them. And so hopefully this is resonating so far, and that you're getting the idea of what it truly means to be authentic in someone's life and in someone's business. Remember, people, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be understood. And it's the same thing from business to business owners. And so a few things that you can do to create conversation is to find common grounds and opportunity. And so there are a few ways that you can create conversation with the others that you are dreaming of working with. You can share images with them that remind you of them. You can share images with them that you can see the both of them doing. You can share both of you guys doing. You can share posts and publications that inspire you and that you see them in and that remind you of them. And I would say do this regularly, not too much, not too little, but in a way that feels comfortable. And engage in conversation each time. Ask them relevant questions and be genuinely interested in them and in this project. This way, you practice healthy communication and let all the thoughts that you have out of your head. Because, sometimes as creatives and business owners, we tend to think about just different things, and we keep our ideas thinking, oh, this might not go over well, or we're just not sure. And so I think it's really important to just be authentic, and if it's received, it's received. If not, you pivot and you go another direction with that. But remember that you are trying to be intentional about building a team, and so being open to ideas that you have together. And so remember that it's all about both of you winning. And if you have to pivot, that's okay in order for you to get the win. Okay. Other areas is that you can find that common ground. While you may not have the complete same style or interest in the person that you work with, you're bound to have something in common. Okay. So there are the most obvious things that we can have in common with people are weddings, editorials, styles of weddings and styles of events. And of course, in your personal life, you might have a family, just like they're having a growing family. You might have specific tastes in life. You might have a similar story. You might love the same places that they travel to, or you might love a beautiful aesthetic cafe and you can join them and work together with them. It's all about finding those common grounds and those common spaces, because that's truly what connects you. And then the other way is opportunity. This is where you build face-to-face relationships that have been built upon those trusts and authentic moments. And so you did the foundational work to work with your client, and you also was authentic in that foundational work. And so it's almost natural now to come together with them to ask for help or offer help, and then it might be a season where you're both incredibly busy and you can't necessarily work on a project together, but you have so much work to do that you just want to work with them to keep building that relationship. So offer a co-working date. Now, personally, for me, I have a lot of work to do as a business owner. And so there are days where I just need to focus and do what I need to do to get my work done, right? But then there are days where my work is a little bit lighter and I can show up and work with someone else. And so you do have to manage your schedule to see when it is that you can work. And I know that we have busy lives and different things like that, but it's so important to get those FaceTime dates that you can continue to build relationships, and who knows where it can go. You can also create opportunities to invite them to work on a project. I have had so many different projects that I've worked on simply because of those reasons. I had intentional friendships, someone that was intentional in who I am as a person, intentional about what's going on in my life. And while we did not have completely similar interests, we still had common ground. And I saw that this person was trustworthy, and I invited them into something I was dreaming of. And so you invite people to work on those projects with you. You share those project ideas, and sometimes you can create it from scratch, right? It is all about finding the right place, right time, right person. And then, of course, the next thing is being open to the process. That is very key. You have to know that every photographer's style and approach to how they take and produce images is to have a collaborative mindset and be open to how things happen. What I hear, I want to pause here, because what I hear from most florists is that they want their images to look true to life. Do you remember that makeup analogy where I put like light blue eyeshadow on my eyes, as a 14-year-old girl? As an adult, I think if I had a professional makeup artist, or I have the skills that I have now, I would be able to effortlessly pull off that look. It would look like me, like it will fit my palette. Let's be honest, pink will probably look better, which is why I'm wearing it today. It goes well with my undertones, right? But that's the thing. You want to have someone that has the professional skills, expertise, and knows what they're doing when they look at the work of art you have created. And so, as we go in to curate this beautiful work, we are adjusting to enhance the image, right? And there are times where I have taken a picture of something and I've edited it. And as a fine art photographer, there are tools that I use that bring really contrasting colors to the actual flower. And so I have to take those moments and I have to go into my editing software to make sure that I get it right. And in those times, I go to the florist that I'm working with. I say, hey, does this look like your flower? Are these the colors that you're happy with? And I go about it that way because I want them to know that I care about their work. Flowers are a common thing, but they are honestly a subtle luxury that we need. And you are putting your hands to something. Each and every single flower gets touched, right? And so it's important for me as a photographer to remember that each flower gets touched. Each thing that you're putting your hands to has value. Each flower that you touch actually costs money, right? And so it's important to me that your work is displayed appropriately. And so having these conversations are important. And so I want to invite you to thinking about different ways that you can communicate with your photographer that you are working with. There are two different ways you can do that. And I didn't plan on sharing this, but I feel like it'll be a good time to share this. Is that one, you recognize that this photographer has a particular style, right? And so you know that for me, it's fine art photography. And so the tones are going to be very fine art. And most of the time it is very true to life. But again, on those moments where I apply a particular tool to those images, it's going to shift the color a little bit. And so I have to go in and adjust the color so it has an artistic point of view, but also true to what you like. But let's say I do it and it's too bright, it's too contrasted, it's too dark, it's too something or not enough of something. You are invited to say, I love the color of, let's see, there's a new rose out, Rosa Prima, right? But this looks a little bit different. Is there any way that we can work together to adjust the color to make it more true to life? As a professional, you should be able to receive that feedback, right? And say, I want to be able to market this as a marketable product, but I need it to look like what it looks like. And I know we're in a world of so many images going across our platforms, and sometimes we see a product that doesn't look that way. But I truly believe it's important to just pause and say, while you can accept someone's style, you know what you know what you're getting, right? When you get a particular photographer. But if there is a moment where something completely looks the opposite of what you want to show in your portfolio, it's okay to pause and say, can we work together to bring it to a desirable result? And so I just want to encourage you with that. It is okay to do that, especially if you have a relationship with them. So it is my job to be open to receiving feedback so that you can also put your best foot forward. This collaboration and a process. As a photographer, as someone who cares about relationships, I value people, I value their work, and I value our relationship. While I might not change my style, I'm adjusting the colors to make sure both of our works and our brands are represented well. You can always pivot where necessary because it's a part of a relationship, right? There is compromise, and then there's this willingness to go the extra mile to make it work for everybody on the team. So, do you guys have any questions so far? Hopefully, this is all resonating. And I want to take some time to talk to you a little bit about how you can take your own pictures. Now, I know that can be a little bit intimidating, but to be honest, it is very easy. And at the end, I'm going to share some resources that can help you do that. But let's go through step by step. I have 3 things on how you can take marketable photos of your work. That is a backdrop, lighting and location, and your phone settings. And so in the next slide, you see 2 different types of lightings. The one on the left has a neutral background, and it is on camera because it is a professional photo. And so the one on the right is a difference in lighting. And I'm pretty sure you can tell one is a little bit well lit and the other one isn't better. And so the reason why I did the 2 different contrasting lightings is to teach and educate, have an educational moment. And so when you are outdoors, now sun is very important, right? And so you want to set your backdrop up facing away from the sun so that sun is not hitting harshly on your photos if you are taking it on the phone, right? But if it is that the sun is hitting in a way that is not lighting your flowers well, you can change it. But the rule of thumb is to face away from the sun. If it's unavoidable, we'll talk about how to fix that. But we always want to have a neutral backdrop that is also in favor with the sun. And in this particular case, I actually was facing the sun, but we did have a neutral backdrop and I was able to adjust my settings on camera. Okay, so that is a little bit about location when you are outdoors. When you are indoors, you can have a neutral backdrop on your, and you want to have go to the biggest window in your house or in your flower studio or wherever you're shooting and face your flowers towards the window. This way, it is a softer light, but it also acts like the sun, right? And so you're getting some light into your space and you're getting enough light to where you don't have to be a pro with the flash and external lighting. Now, I do have one little tip that can work, and you just have to see if it works for you, right? I personally take off all of the lights, especially from near a window, because it takes the harshness away from when you take a photograph of your picture, and it brings in that soft, gentle light. And so here we have this neutral backdrop in front of a window, and we have two different angles. And so what you want to do is on your phone, you I am talking about an iPhone. Fortunately, I don't know much about Androids. But for your iPhone, you want to take that out, and you can do two things. You can put it in regular phone mode or in portrait mode. In this photograph, it is in portrait mode. And what you want to do is make sure you have those grids lit on your camera. You'll see like 9 spaces and lines going up and lines going across. And so you can adjust that in your settings. And what you want to do is tap the middle of your phone, and you'll see like a yellow box come up. And on that yellow box, you'll see a sun. Most of the time, it is too bright. And so you want to take that sun and you want to pull it down just a little bit to show the true to life photograph that you want to capture. And so you adjust that light to your liking, and you want to do this, right? And it's going to feel silly, but you want to squat or scoot down to a comfortable level, as comfortable as you can be, but also in a way that shows the flowers you want to show. And then you take your portrait. And so it's going to take a few times to probably get that angle that you want, so that you can display your work beautifully. And then you can also take another angle of your work to show another perspective of your flowers. Most of the time, I like to take pictures of the flowers that my florists make. And so there are two things that you can do is like ask them, like, which flower do you want to display the most today? Which flower is the most expensive one? Which one has the most touch on it? And you focus on that, and you get another angle. And so for you, you will know what the flower is that you want to sell, or the flowers that you want to use to attract your ideal clients. And so I encourage you to just go from the top down and take the picture that way, or you can do it on another angle on your phone, and you can get creative. But remember those key tips. Find a neutral backdrop. Make sure it faces an incredibly big window or in front of your door. Take off the lights if you feel that it's will work for you. Make sure your grid is on your phone. Tap the middle of your phone, or you can tap the very bottom if you wanted to shoot it that way, and adjust the lighting of your settings with the sun that comes up on your phone, and shoot accordingly. I do have some more resources and backdrops and different things like that to show you. So it is your turn officially to apply those tips. And you can, like I said, have those resources, and the resource I will give to Sahid at the end. Another thing that I encourage florists to do is to, share their work in multiple places. That is the key to increasing the ROI of your work. It's not particularly in this presentation, but it's something that I talk about in the resources that I have. When you spend the dollars on the flowers that you buy for yourself, for your clients, for your shop, for whatever work that you're doing, they do cost a lot, and they do not last forever, right? But you want to make sure that you are taking the time to, one, connect with that florist, the photographer that you have built that relationship with, or do the images yourself. And as you have done them, one of the two, and you post them on your social media, whether that's a story, a reel, a post, you want to make the most of that opportunity by making sure it is high quality, because that high quality attracts your ideal client. Trust me, your clients are eating with their eyes first, right? And you want to share that image to Pinterest, or you want to share those images in your proposals or in any of the branding that you do, so that it shows that you are a professional, that you are consistent in your designs and in the quality of work that you do. And that way your clients will see you as a professional. It'll help you stand out, and it'll help you just make your mark in the process, and it'll help you be more trustworthy as well. And so, like I said, I do have some resources for you guys, and that list is a free list of things that you can do to share your work. It's a list of backdrops, a camera that you can use, and I personally recommend a mirrorless camera. It is a list of tables and different stands, and also have a new book coming, which is a florist guide to creating and sharing marketable photos. And I'll be sure to share that with Sahid in the future when it is completely ready. So that is all I have for today. And of course, if you want to connect with me further, I am at Renee Jael on Instagram. And I can also be reached at renee@reneejael.com. So that's all for today. And we are so excited that you would join us for the Bloom Show. Thank you, Sahid. Oh, I can't hear you.
I wanted to jump in. Great presentation, by the way. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time and
Yeah.
openness to collaborate with us, as the show is about innovating, connecting, and blooming.
Yes.
So thank you about talking about the collaboration. And again, curiosity is much better than judgment. So it's really
Yeah.
cool how you're saying talk to the photographers, build a
Yeah.
relationship, and that
Yes.
could be of value. What kind of value do you see in those relationships? Can you share a story of a florist that you've worked with in the past, and how did you bring value to them, and how did they bring value to you in a collaboration?
For sure. I have a few examples. The obvious value is having that final work, right? That's the most obvious. Is having work in your portfolio to share with your clients, with your audience, and have that work repeated. In the presentation that I just did, there was work that I've done for clients for weddings, but there's also work that I did for a project, right? And so that's an immediate and the most obvious value that I have, and then that florist has, because now they have pictures of their work to
Yeah.
show what they did. And to continue to show these are the kind of colors that I can work with. This is the type of design that I work with. This is the type of flatware and glassware that I can use, and also the type of venue that I'm shooting at, right? It all works together. It's not just one thing. There's multiple layers of things that you can do. And so I have a few stories. And so let's see if I can narrow down one. I would say maybe last year, one of my friends, she's a florist. I met her years and years ago at our church, and she didn't go there anymore, but I still did. But we were in touch on social media. And I remember I shared a picture of myself on my stories, and she replied, and she asked me about taking pictures for her, and I think she had inquired before, and eventually it came to the point where we took pictures of her for her brand shoot. And at that time I was desiring more friendships, more vendor relationships with others. And so I showed up authentically for her as a photographer for her job as a designer and florist, right? As I did all the work that I could, and I offered solutions on the day of the session. I offered different insights. I offered how to position different things so you get a better image. And so it's one, trusting myself as a professional and showing up in that regard, right? So adding value with my profession and my eye as a photographer to make sure she gets the best shots. And then we continue to build a relationship by being curious about one another's lives and curious about what's going on. And while they are still new to my life and I'm still new to their life, there's still enough trust there and still enough relationship there to where we're constantly keeping in touch with each other. And so when I needed help with building my own brand, which is not done yet, I reached out because I have so much to do that I just did not have time to do it all. And so I knew that they were a planner, I knew that they were a designer, and I wanted to add value to their business. So I invited them to help me plan my rebrand shoot. And so we worked together. She gave me ideas. And, as a photographer, I'm not the one that's talking to the linen company or the flatware company or the wholesalers or retailers for flowers. That's not typically what I do. And so she added a lot of value to my business and to my life by knowing the places to go to get those items, because this was a big deal for me. This was at the time 9 years into business, and I wanted to really showcase what I could do as a photographer. I wanted to showcase my growth, but I needed help to do that. There's this quote that I recently have just adopted, and it says, alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. And that's by Helen Keller. And I truly believe that it added so much value to my life. And I had to be intentional, one, about knowing what my vision was, and so I could share my vision. And as creatives, sometimes our visions change. Sometimes they grow and they elevate. And so I had to be moldable, and I also had to receive ideas and say, this feels like me, this doesn't feel like me, right? And also having integrity with myself and saying, this is what I actually like. Are we okay with doing this? But then also being open to ideas. And so, as someone who works by themselves a lot, communication is something that I have to be very intentional in. And so it helps me to grow as a communicator with my florist friend, right? And my designer friend, to say, hey, this is what works, this doesn't work, or I like this idea, or I don't like this idea, or here's what time we need to show up. There's a lot of things that we as business owners do on our own sometimes, but then when we work with a team, it brings in another dynamic. And so it added the value of growth in communication.
Awesome.
And it's just, I could go on and on and on, but I would just say it's just so much. Like, it really is rich, and your eyes get open to more ideas. It
partnership,
gets, more partnership.
I call it brain power, right?
Brain power,
And I also say that creatives can't talk to the four walls around them. They have to talk to other creatives.
Yes, you do. You really do.
It's an energy source in a sense.
Yeah.
I have a quick little shout out from Thais here. Was amazing. So thank you, Thais, for the shout out. I have another question for you. I'm a question guy, so I'm always curious. So tell us about filters.
We'll talk about that.
Right. So let's keep it short, but tell us about, I know we could be all day about filters, but is there any go-to filters? Should they use filters?
So I actually, maybe an hour or so before our call, I was testing some things out because I wanted to be able to share that with you. Okay. And so I would say, because I have an understanding of what florists desire in their work, you want to find a filter that is minimal and true to life, right? If you're not a photographer and you're not into editing light and exposure and contrast and texture and temperature, and you have no idea what all of that means, I'm going to give you a very simple solution. Lightroom has a free app for your mobile phone that you can download, and you upload your picture in there using the tips that I shared before. You have a good picture, right? But you want to enhance it a little bit. You want to go to the premium presets that they have, and you want to add the very first one that says landscape on there, because landscape is familiar to greenery and flora and fauna. And so you want to find something that's free, easily accessible, and easily applicable to your work. And honestly, I tested it out and I liked it. And I said, I could see a florist sharing this with their audience. And so I would say it's perfect for, a post or a reel or something you can share in your social media stories. And so that's my tip for presets. Cool. There are more that you can go into. And so, you just have to kind of know how much you want in the image. So if you kind of want to play with it, and so there are a few key things, right? Just to kind of give it really quickly. You have the temperature of an image, which
I was about to ask, what about concentration, temperature, saturation?
Okay, I can talk about that.
Awesome. What should they focus on and not focus on? Because sometimes you can start playing with everything with shadow and light. So what are the top things to focus on when it comes to adjusting?
For sure. Well, of course, how I learned is that you have to get it right in camera first. If it's not right in camera, it's going to take a pro to get it right in Photoshop or in Lightroom. So that's why we teach how to take good pictures, right? And so get it right in your camera first. And then as you bring it into Lightroom, you're gonna have less work to do. And so let's say you apply that landscape filter that gives you a nice natural look, and you want to look a little bit warmer, right? You have warm and cool. So basic layman terms, warm is a little more orange, right?
Yeah.
And cool is a little more blue, right? And so if you want it to look warmer, you increase your temperature to the color slider that looks more. If you want a little tint, I recommend a little bit of pink, or if you want it to look a lot more flora-ish or fauna-ish, you add a little more green. But more than likely, you want to add a little bit of tint, unless you really have like this curated style that you want to go for, right? And then if you want to add highlights do lift the colors a little bit. So you add a little bit of highlight. Shadows also lift the colors a lot. And so you just lift it as much as you think is necessary. And then you have whites and blacks. I don't think that
How about saturation? I used to love saturation.
Okay. Saturation, I don't recommend a whole lot of it. You want to do very little bit of saturation. Unless you have this vibe that you're going for that's desaturated, you can go for that. But when you desaturate, you're going to take the colors away from your flowers. You don't want to necessarily desaturate. The other thing that we have is vibrance. And so
yes, I love vibrance. What is vibrance? Because it works for everything and it's fun.
Yeah,
what is it?
Right. And so,
oh, she got a little frozen there. You're a little frozen, Renee. Sorry, everybody. She had technical difficulties and she was on her phone. I hope we didn't lose her. But that's what happens when you're doing live shows. So live shows, you have an adventure every time. Let's see if she comes right back in. Let's give her a couple minutes. There you are. You're back.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.
Cool. So
Cool.
for vibrance, you just want to play with it just a little bit. And so once again, you want to make sure your flowers are true to life, so they're authentic to what they actually are. Yeah.
So we have flower choreographer, which
Hi.
I wonder if she's also photographer. Very good topic. Thank you very much, flower choreographer. Thank you so much. So Renee, opening it up for any questions, but again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for collaborating with us in this series. And this is not the last you'll hear, Renee. Renee will be joining our team of bloggers and giving some tips. And we're even here, what Renee was saying, the link to a freebie here. Is that it, Renee, or no? Wait a minute. I think I made a mistake. Give me a second. Let me make sure I have the right. Give me a second. I wish I could down. Okay, there you go. Sorry, I think I put. Is that the right? No, that's Canva. Is that the right link you gave me to share? And
yeah.
It's in the instructions. It's still a Canva link. Is that correct?
Let me double check, but it should be. It should say a floral and photography. Hold on one second.
Yeah, let me make sure I have the right one. Give me a second. That's the last one I copied. Let me put it back here. Yeah, that's it. Is that it, or is that? Sorry, guys, just trying to find the link sheet. Free downloadable. That's it. That's it. Yeah. If you send me the correct one, we're good. Okay. Above all flowers, my co-host and my partner David Kaplan says great show and info. Thanks for chiming in. Dave chimed in and learned about photography today. That's awesome. Let's see if he's something. Oh, let me ask you a last question, because we have this with our customers.
Okay.
How do you avoid taking pictures of your product and not including cups or a cat's tail in the background? Because we get that all the time. Here, use these pictures. And like, there's a freaking hand or a foot, or is there any tip to how to avoid that?
So I guess context is key, right?
Yeah.
I would say, I'm not sure if it's at home or at an event or anything like that, but the ideal thing, if you obviously if you're in a controlled environment, you want to declutter, right? And so that's why
Yes.
we talked about the backdrop that we're encouraging people to use. So you want to declutter your environment. If you don't want to do a backdrop, that's not your thing. That's okay. Just make sure it's decluttered and just move it. It's really that
Just,
simple.
and I think it's being intentional with it, right?
Yeah.
You wanna set it to yourself. So if you wouldn't be appealed to that picture,
Yeah.
then don't post it, right? So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
important. Can you? I feel like this show's for me. Can you also talk a little bit about creating stories and color stories within photography?
What do you mean?
So, meaning, I took a photography course and it said you have to have everything in the frame because if you're missing something in the frame, then it's not a full story being told.
So composition more
Oh, there we go.
so. Okay,
Thank you.
composition. And so remember when I was talking about the grid that you want on your phone?
Yes.
Okay, so as a storyteller, it is a very practical tip, right? And
Hmm.
so what you do is on your phone, I'm not sure if Androids are the same, but on the iPhone, you have the opportunity to install that grid. It comes naturally in the phone, not install, I'm sorry. It's a grid. It's two lines that go this way and then two lines that go this way. And
Yes.
so you have your upper thirds, middle thirds, and lower thirds, and it's called the rule of thirds, right? And so typically you want to center your image or you want to create a something more creative. You can put it in the middle thirds on the lower third bottom, and so you create composition that way.
Okay.
Sometimes, as a photographer that does photographs people that are on the move, sometimes can't always do that. And so I go into my editing software and edit. You do the same thing. You want to edit, crop. iPhones now, they have opportunities to where you can freely crop something really well. And so I would say those are my two suggestions. You do want to leave a lot of negative space on the top, of course, to kind of draw the eye into the center of your image. And so does that answer your question?
It does. It does. It does. And you said it in a very intelligent way. So thank you. Now, David Kaplan saying any recommendations for better cat photography? That was a
Cat
joke.
photography.
make them make sure they stay in place, right? Make sure they
Yeah,
stay in
I
place.
mean, you kind of have to probably follow them around, but cats stay pretty still, so I'm sure you
And
can
then
follow the
we
same rules.
Michelle Schultz, thank you so much. What do you use for background remover if you need one? Great question, Michelle. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, so one of the more accessible ones that I found is on Canva. And so Canva,
Yes.
it is a paid service. Of course, I do believe I don't know the exact price of it, but it's pretty affordable. You plug in your image and one of their premium features is that you remove your background that way.
Yeah.
And
Also,
so,
check out right now it's still up, but we're going to be closing is Fleur, Fleur, ography.com. It's a site that we had created a while ago, but we're taking that to floralphoto.oi or IO. You could check them out. They're a service that actually does that for very economical, and they have some AI that does it a little better
yeah.
than Canva because they're dedicated to the plant and flower industry. So you could check that
Ah,
out.
good to know.
Yeah, that's a little tip there. It's an innovation that we kind of started, and then now we have Jeff. Oh, Jeff, is it better to shoot flowers with light above or below? And how do you use shadows to highlight? Thank you, Jeff.
Good question.
Hey, now
So,
we got
is
the
it better?
flowers. Now we got the questions coming. I love
Yeah, is
this.
it
I
better
love
to
this.
shoot flowers with light above or below? So, my recommendation is in front of the flowers. If you're inside, and so let's say you're in your living room and there's a window in front of you. You want to make sure your flowers are facing the window. And so, if you're outside, I would say, place, place your flowers facing away from the sun. So it's still above you that way, but it's still facing away from the sun, so it's not completely harsh. Hopefully that answers your question. And of course, you can also go in the shade, but again, make sure if it's in the shade that it's facing the light that way. So there's a few different things there with the lighting. And how do you use shadows to highlight? So if you're in an editing software and you want to highlight something with shadows, you simply increase the shadow. If you have a tone curve, you want to go down to the tone curve and you want to add your lights and add your darks that way as well.
One last question. One last question. And the
Yeah.
question is, there you go. If you want to
Have you, as a photographer, fix an arrangement if it doesn't look right, or do you ask the designer? How do you handle the situation? I did not mention this, and so I might fix it if I can tell like something is like a little bit out of place, or if it fell on accident, and I know, oh, this is not intentional at all, and so I might ask, cause like, hey, is this supposed to be this way? Or in the process of shooting, I might adjust it just a little bit, but I've never like taken anything out and putting it back in. There was once maybe last week where a florist brought a beautiful arrangement. It was the very first one on the slideshow, and they were doing a video for this flower that's being promoted, and two of the leaves were dead, like completely dead. It had been a day since I'd had it, and I was going to shoot it a second time. And so I was like, oh, this is probably a good idea to take these out, because I'm sure she
Good.
doesn't want to show dead leaves, right? And so that was an instance where I took it out. But if it's not very obvious to me, I would ask them, hey, how do you want this to be photographed? I think that's the best way to do it, is asking them, what angles do you like? If you genuinely have a question and you're not sure, and it's like that a lot, with flowers in any case, right? But if a bride is holding a bouquet and the bottom is up and the top is down, then it doesn't show the actual bouquet. And so you do want to ask the florist in that situation, how should she hold this? If it's on a table, or if it's, a design that it's a little more fluid, you do want to just simply ask. It's really just about asking. And honestly, the floral artist is going to appreciate you sharing that question with them.
And I think that's a great question. Also, that kind of highlights something is I recommend work with somebody that knows your industry,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Because you could get, I've seen tons that happen. People are creating content for farms or for growers or for florists, and they're not doing, they're doing pictures of stuff on a bush, and we're in the fresh cut flower business. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that come with education and information and awareness. So if
yeah.
you're, my humble opinion is, recommending a florist to do to with photographers, find out their experience, because
Hmm.
you don't want to always have to educate them. You want to learn from them as well. So it's
Yeah, for
important that
sure.
they're at a level that understand that those leaves weren't just brown because they were brown for design. They were
Yeah,
wet brown because they die. So
yeah.
and, I've also seen some photography that it's a beautiful bunch of flowers with some petals on the table, and for
Yeah,
me, that's like you're telling them that the flowers are dying. It might
yeah,
look cool to a photographer, but in
yeah,
reality, if you're selling it as a product, when it comes down to it, petals are falling. Product
yeah,
is dying.
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so partnering up with somebody like yourself that knows well, and then flower choreographer says, "Thank you for your answer.
Oh,
Thank you
you're
for
welcome. You're
asking. Thank
welcome.
you for asking." So,
Yeah.
Renee, I think that's a wrap. Any final words?
No, I think that was a great idea. Is something I do talk about in the resource that I have, is that you want to work with someone that's familiar, so that you don't have to spend time translating what you need. It's good to
Yes.
communicate, but
Very.
someone that's familiar, it will be an easier relationship to build, and they'll understand your work better. They'll understand you better, and you get a better product at the end. And so I just want to say thank you so much for
You.
trusting my voice, trusting my expertise. I love talking about photography and flowers, and of course fashion and different things like that. And I just have a passion for it all. I have a passion for seeing people show up as their best selves in the world, and I love adding beauty to the world, and that could be through my work or education. And I'm just honored to share with the community today. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much again for your time and for your efforts in putting this together. And again, it's not the last of her you'll hear, because we're planning a couple cool things. And this free giveaway that she's giving will be on our newsletter, so keep an eye on it. If you're not aware of our newsletter, go to newbloomsolutions.com. The first pop up, just sign up for the newsletter, and you'll start receiving this information, especially the giveaways that we're going to do. And we'll talk later, Renee. I have some cool ideas based on that. So let's
Awesome.
share. But I think it's a cool partnership. And we've also partnered with Black Girl Florists to do
Yeah.
this and to highlight Black Girl Florists as well and some of
Yeah.
their members. So we're really excited. And again, thank you so much to you. And thank you to Black Girl Florists, because we would have never met.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you to Valerie, and do check out Black Girl Florist even to support as a sponsor as well. It's a great organization doing great things. So Renee, thank you again. I'm going to put you back in the Bloom room and say my goodbyes, but thank you so much for your time. And wait, one last thank you, Michelle Schultz.
Thank you.
Thank you from
Thank you,
all of us at
Michelle.
Expression Floral Designs. That's awesome.
You're
Cool. Thank you so much,
welcome.
Michelle. All right, thank you again. I'm putting you in the Bloom room.
Awesome.
Take care. All right, everybody. So I was excited. I thought it was a great informative. I, got really involved to ask more questions. Again, if you have any additional questions, we have her email here. So feel free to reach out to Renee, and maybe a collaboration or a relationship could build from there. So do reach out to her. And she has a book coming out. So we're really excited to help her promote that book through our audience, and maybe do some cool promotions and stuff like that to get it out. So do keep an eye on our newsletter and our Bloom show as well to find out more about that. Now, as I said, on the 18th, we're going to have Nicole Palazos of Cityline Florist with her team, right? With Sam Bowles and Cam Pampas. So they will be coming on and talking about next gen. So tune in. Remember that every month we do a show or two, and we're kind of trying to go to the guest host now. We want you to hear from the floral community, because this is a show that is for the community, floral community, by the floral community. And it means a lot to us to have your interaction, your voice heard within our entire community. So if you want to be a part of this show, don't hesitate. Reach out. You can reach out to, let's see, which email? You can reach out to blooming@newbloomsolutions.com. Again, blooming@newbloomsolutions.com. Blooming@newbloomsolutions.com. If you want to be a part of this episode and want to be a guest host, or you have a lesson to teach, or something to teach, or something to inform, reach out. Love to sit down with you and bring you on the show. Again, thank you to everybody for your time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and press the little alert key. Have a great one. See you next week. See you on the 18th. Take care.